Today I'm going to give you my hot tips for hiking in hot weather. I'm going to share a few of my little tips and tricks for getting the most out of being in the outdoors when the sun is shining. So firstly, before I ever leave for a hike, I always check the weather. You don't always have the benefit of planning your weather around a hike, especially if you're on a long through hike or a multi-day hike. So when I hike, I always carry some sort of emergency communication device, usually my Garmin InReach. I like this because it does work like a PLB in an emergency, but also I can receive and send messages even if there's no phone service. So I always tell a family member where I'm going and get them to check the weather, and they can send me through updates every day if there is a fire or hot weather coming, and then I can plan around that. This also does do very basic but helpful weather updates as well. The next thing that I always carry, whether it's a day hike or a multi-day hike, is a snake bite kit. Mine did come in this little bag, but I just keep it in a Ziploc bag to make it lighter. It's important to carry a snake bite kit, but it's also important to know how to use it before you go and feel confident in being able to use it. So make sure you know what to do if yourself or someone is bitten by a snake. The next thing that's very important when hiking, whether it's a day hike or a multi-day hike, and honestly in all weather, is to make sure that you're drinking enough water. I always like to have an option for drinking water that's easily accessible, so I don't have to stop and take my pack off to drink, that I can always drink on the go. So I have on the front of my pack a Hyperlite water bottle holder, and in there I just keep my water filter so that it's always accessible to drink. If I was on a day hike and using my day pack, I would use my Camelback that just slots into the back of the pack, and then the straw comes around the front. The next thing on water is make sure when you're planning your hike that you know where the water is on the track and the creeks or the rivers that you're expecting to be able to fill up on are actually running. During hot weather, creeks that might be on a map may actually be dry. And always have an option for filtration of water. So I have a little Katadyn Be-Free filter, and I also always carry purification tablets as a backup. There's guidelines out there that say that you should be drinking at least 1 litre an hour. That could be different for everyone, but it's important to allow for that. Make sure that you have more than enough water to get you to the next water spot so that you don't end up dehydrated. Some dehydration signs to look out for are having a dry mouth, headache, being dizzy or lightheaded. And if you are dehydrated and your symptoms become severe, you could become confused and disorientated, which can be pretty dangerous if you're out in the bush in the middle of nowhere, which is why it's again important to have a means of emergency contact. Another thing that I like to do, especially on a multi-day hike, is carry some electrolytes with me, and I'll drink these either throughout the day, depending on how hot and sweaty I am, if I need to. Otherwise, I'll just have a big drink of electrolytes at night time. Obviously, when in the sun, no matter what you're doing, you should have sunscreen on. I always like to do SPF 50 because it's the most protection. The guidelines from Cancer Council Australia are that you should reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. This is regardless of whether you're swimming or not. That is something to take into account when you're choosing your outfit for hiking, because realistically you're probably not going to apply sunscreen every 2 hours, and that would require carrying a lot of sunscreen. So you would be smart to wear long-sleeved clothing. I like to hike with either a long-sleeved merino shirt, and merino does have some natural SPF properties, which is good, or a sun hoodie, which might not be merino but has similar features. They come in different SPF ratings as well. And I like the hood because it covers your neck and your ears. This one also has thumb holes, so it can go down over your hands, protecting them from the sun also. The other benefit of merino clothing, other than having a little bit of sun protection, it is moisture wicking. So it keeps you dry, it dries really fast. It stands up to odours pretty well, and obviously if you're hiking, especially for a few days in hot weather, you're going to be pretty sweaty and smelly. Obviously wear a hat and sunglasses, good sunglasses. If you're not wearing a sun hoodie, I would wear a buff around your neck that you can even pull up over your ears, and a broad-rimmed hat to protect your ears and the back of your neck as well. So obviously you're going to carry a snake bandage and you're going to know how to use it. It's also a good idea if you're walking on a track that might not be well maintained or doing a bit of bush bashing, to have a pair of snake gaiters to go around your ankles and the bottom of your legs, just so that there's a little bit of extra protection, especially if you can't see where you're putting your feet. I like to have peace of mind that there's something between me and a snake should I have a close encounter. Yeah, every hike that I've done this summer so far, I have come across a snake. If you're walking through long grass, thick scrub, definitely invest in some snake gaiters. Also keeps the grass seeds out of your boots. Which leads us on to footwear choice. In winter, on a long multi-day, I would usually always wear a pair of hiking boots. They're pretty well waterproof, great protection, warm. In summer, however, if I was to walk a few days in these, or even the day, my feet would get pretty sweaty and that could lead to blisters. So I'm more inclined to wear a lightweight trail runner for hiking in the summer months, especially on a day hike and also for longer multi-days. They're lighter, they're a bit more breathable. They might not be waterproof, but it's summer, so if you're walking through, like doing a creek crossing or walking through wet grass in the morning, they're going to dry pretty quick anyway as soon as the sun comes up and it gets warm. The other thing with blisters in summer, your feet obviously in hot weather are more likely to sweat, and wet feet and wet socks can lead to blisters. Make sure you have plenty of band-aids should this happen. I also like to do a double layer of socks, some liner toe socks and then another pair of socks over the top. Another little tip for blisters, even just general sore feet, which I've discovered recently, is hiker's wool or walker's wool. So it's 100% wool, still has the lanolin oils in it. So if you are experiencing some sore spots or starting to get blisters, stuffing a little bit of this in your socks really does help. A couple of other little things that I do when hiking in hot weather. Every time I stop to fill up water from a creek or a river, I'll also splash myself with water, even dip my whole hat under or my shirt. Helps to keep you cool. I also always keep extra water and electrolytes in my car for when I finish my hike, whether it's a day hike or a multi-day. It's nice to know when you get back to your car that there is water waiting for you and some electrolytes, especially if you have struggled in the heat. If you are on a big multi-day, or if you're traveling somewhere and there's a hike you really want to do but the weather isn't on your side, try and hike as early as you can in the morning or late at night. Obviously these are the coolest times of day. Also you might get to see a sunrise or a sunset. So they're my tips for getting myself through hiking in hot weather. Always make sure you have a way of contacting someone in an emergency. Check the weather before you go. Appropriate clothing. If you can't avoid hiking in the heat, make sure you're wearing some merino or SPF clothing. Avoid cotton. Sunscreen, plenty of sunscreen. Know where the water is. Always carry more water than you think you need. Always carry a snake bandage, regardless of how far you're hiking, and know how to use it. And have fun. Enjoy the sun. If there's anything you have a question about or you want to know more, drop us a comment or give the shop a call. Come in and see us, send us an email. We'd love to chat.